You've done your 2 minutes of pre-show preparation?
I have. I may have done 3, so I may be a bit over-prepared.
Oh, no, you don't want to sound too studied and rehearsed. I think 3 minutes of preparation is excessive.
I just wanted to check something, and I started going down a rabbit hole.
Fact-checking?
Yeah, I know.
People aren't here for facts, Tim. They're here for wild speculation and third-hand information that may or may not be true.
Oh, in that case, I'm definitely over-prepared. I was just checking on something, and I'll later in the show, I'll after we've talked about it, I'll illuminate you on what I was checking, because it was a bit of a dead end. So
you're going to drop a knowledge bomb. Maybe you shouldn't tell us, and that should be like a game for people listening. Can they spot the one piece of information in the whole show that was actually researched beforehand?
That's true. That's a really good, interesting point. We'll see how we go, and we'll see how many other things that we wax lyrical about and pretend to have expertise about, and then we'll see how well disguised my research is. Yeah.
The actual fact is, oh, that's it. That's the fact. I'm sure that was it. No, you're wrong. I just made that up.
But we need to get people off the scent, so you need to go first now. Because, change tack.
Here's my idea for a podcast. This is a podcast that is all about emails or tweets or social media posts or pieces of online writing that you drafted, that you wrote, but didn't send.
Okay.
In this podcast, you'll read them or talk about them and talk about what you wrote, why you wrote it, and why you never made it public, which kind of undermines the whole purpose of not sending it, then talking about it in a podcast, but let's ignore that fact for just a second. So it's unsent drafts.
So there's a few categories of this that come to mind, right? Even straight away.
Yep.
Sometimes my computer's done some things where it saves a draft of something that I eventually do send. You know, you come back to it for a few times and it's like, hang on, I did send that, but this is a slightly earlier draft. So there's that sort of incomplete. You know what I mean? You don't need it as a draft later.
I think like IT problems and misuse of technology probably is the least interesting category of this podcast. But yes, that is a legitimate category.
You'd get all those out the way in the first 10 or 20 episodes just to clear the way for the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which is...
Just to build the anticipation. Yeah, okay.
That's right. Just to build up to those... I mean, a draft is a classic of here's an email I want to send and I'm full of passion and gosh that I sent it, and I'm going to sleep on it and then come back the next day before I send it to someone. There's that kind of draft email as well.
Yes, that's a bit more what I'm looking for. Yes, that's a category I am interested in.
Yeah. And what else is there? There's if there's not mistakes, then there's
the classic one for me, and this is more the one I'm thinking of because I have such a long list of these now that I could share with you, and that is the frustrated tweet about something happening in politics that day that I drafted and redrafted about 50 times, and then thought I probably shouldn't send this and make this public because I'm like, you know, a semi-public figure and people don't like hearing people rant about politics. So I have this incredibly long list of tweets about Brexit and American politics and things that I've written, some snarky remark or frustrated remark about that day's events that I've drafted and redrafted. Sometimes I've probably spent 20, 30 minutes on a tweet.
Yeah.
And then I think I probably shouldn't
20
tweet
to 30
this.
minutes on a tweet.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And then not send it. And I have loads of them. I've got my phone in my hand now, Tim. I'm going to call up Twitter because I usually save them as drafts. I usually think, maybe if later on I still feel this, I'll send it. And then I never do.
Twitter drafts are a bit different from email drafts, aren't they? But yeah, drafts, the idea is, a really good one. I'll call up mine as well.
The first 3 I've got here are me being angry at a company and not sending it. And then we've got one about Brexit, just a normal one that I didn't send for various reasons. Another company one about Star Wars, and then we go into another angry. Actually, most of them seem to be ones where I'm angry at companies that I think no, I probably shouldn't send that. Quite a few where I'm complaining about things in sport. I've got one here all about Manchester United and sports commentary. One here that I thought was really witty about public architecture, and then it didn't make the grade. Another one complaining about a train company.
Did you say complaining about architecture?
Yeah, I was trying to be funny. It's not even, I know this will be hard for you to believe, but sometimes I come up with jokes that aren't that funny, and this was one that even I realised wasn't that funny.
Your comedy work in architecture is renowned.
I know. I'm surprised how many of these are about sport. One about complaining about a TV presenter, and then here we go, we're getting politics now. One about Parliament, one about the Prime Minister, one about politics, one about Russia and US, one about US politics, another one about US politics, one about Theresa May. There's just this whole long list of another one about the Prime Minister, another one about Brexit. There's this long list of you can just see my political mood over the last few weeks. And I just don't end up sending them most of the time. But I think that would be interesting. Oh, what did you say? Why didn't you send it? I mean, if this was a real podcast, by the way, it wouldn't necessarily just have to be the same people every week because, the well would run dry pretty quickly hearing Brady talk about political tweets he didn't send. But you could have guests on, couldn't you? You could have various people talking about things they sent. You could also talk about famous drafts. I guess it could veer off into drafts of books and things like that never got published. Or
Yeah, but that's another thing.
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping it quite electronic. The email that never got sent, the tweet that never got sent. Because you'd also start learning a bit about the way people think and life lessons. I think I've, over time, gotten better at knowing when to pull my punches. When I go through my email drafts, most of them are more work-related, and they'll usually be me complaining about something or saying, I think you shouldn't have done this that way. And then after writing it and getting it out of my system thinking, what do I gain from saying this? So I don't send it. It's just maybe writing it got it out of my system. And I think learning what people don't send teaches you a lot about where they are in their life. And I bet you'd be really good at this. I bet you're quite good at not sending your bad. You probably don't write them because you're a nice guy, but
I'll tell you what I'm not good at. Finding where the drafts are on Twitter.
You go as if you're going to write a new tweet, right?
Hang on, I'm on a desktop Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Which is a bit different. Hang on.
There should be a little thing that looks like a feather or something to write a tweet, and then there's sometimes a button that says drafts, but
well, there's just a big button that says tweet. I definitely have drafts. Hang on, I'll have to go over to my phone. Hang on a second.
Tim has this weird setup for recording our podcast where his phone is actually what we're talking on and it sits over in the corner of the room so it doesn't interfere with his microphone. It's very strange. You'd think after all this time...
I can still hear that,
Yeah, I know. It's a very strange setup, so you'd think he would have...
Just talk amongst yourselves while I'm doing this.
Tim's only one step away from doing the podcast with 2 cans and a piece of string.
Oh, here it is, drafts. Oh, yeah. No, well, I've got... Hang on, I'm just going to email them to... That I'm on the desktop, you know what I mean? That I'm working on, so...
Yeah. Master of technology. You make me look good. I'm surprised you aren't taking a photo of them and then developing the pictures in a tray of solution. Hang on, I'm just in the dark room waiting for the pictures to come through. So what have you done? You've screenshotted your drafts and you're emailing them to the computer you're sitting at so you can leave your phone in the corner of the room.
It's actually genius if you really think about it. I've managed to...
I have thought about it and it's not genius.
Oh.
But yeah.
That I screenshot something and emailed it to the laptop near me.
I just want people listening to know what you're listening to has been edited and what actually happened was 10 times more painful than what you just heard. Anyway, what do you got? So you have got lots of drafts. Are there any themes developing immediately, or?
Look, there are a few things that I've gone on and sent later. So every now and then I'll think of a tweet idea and then I don't send it, and then I think of it again and do send it without actually going into the draft.
Okay.
Or forgetting that I drafted it.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that are just like a song lyric that's applicable to a sport or a moment in sport.
Yeah.
I'm a big one for that, I think, by the looks of it. Getting a quote from a song that means something and putting it out there. I quite like that.
Yeah.
There's some, moral sort of observations about life and...
Is there a theme you can see to perhaps why they weren't sent? For example, the reason most of mine aren't sent is because I think it'll just upset people and cause like anger, and I just can't be bothered with the repercussions of that, like everyone, the politics and so like, I've written it and then thought, this is just more trouble to me than it's worth. I probably shouldn't say it out loud. But it sounds like yours aren't like that. It sounds like you aren't doing controversial things. You're just like thinking, oh, maybe that's not clever enough or interesting enough, or
yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're not passionate. There's a few negative things and there's sarcastic things. There's a few things where I've gone, well, like of course, XYZ on this TV program or film here, you know what I mean? But I think better of. I don't like having the sarcastic or a whiny tone on Twitter. I don't. There's the sort of the moralistic sort of thing, and then there's the voice on Twitter that's whining about things. And I'm not talking about genuine concern about genuine issues, but there's a whinging about things that I don't like. And I can, and of course I'm human, so I do that too, which is probably why it really irks me. But you sort of have that moment where you look at your tweet and you go, nah, I'm not going to say that. That's just going to sound, like the kind of thing that I'd roll my eyes at probably.
God, you must roll your eyes at my Twitter a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm very judgmental of your Twitter. I like it actually when you break out and say something, because I know you must be really passionate about it, particularly about politics and something. You go, oh, look, this particularly about Brexit. And I go, oh, this is interesting. This is, Brady's really, it's at the surface of your...
If you saw how many unsent drafts there are, you'd realise, to actually make it through the process, it's like, no, I've got to say something.
I guess I'm trying to tweet when I feel like I'm saying something insightful, which is a bit pretentious, I guess, I like things that are insightful. And so I have a few things here that I think are really insightful, like that I've observed about human nature. And I think at the last minute I get the feeling I don't think this is particularly insightful. but because I've thought of it, I don't delete it, like I save it, like maybe it is insightful, or maybe its time has not yet come,
Maybe it will just be saved and put into the Tim Hine archive after you die, where like scholars can pore over. These are his thoughts that didn't even make it to Twitter.
That's right. This is right. When I'm given that honorary Doctor of Letters, it'll be because of someone discovered the richness of his Twitter drafts.
Unsent tweets. He's unsent.
Unsent. It would be good to somehow be able to. There's a plot line of a film or a moment where suddenly everything that someone thinks they've deleted has been tweeted, and everything that they think they've tweeted has been deleted. And the kinds of trouble that gets them into, you know what I mean?
Oh gosh.
There's a few things here telling people off. They're sort of more general, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
No, I won't. There's I don't want to say.
There's a reason they're left unsent. I realise this is probably one of the problems with my idea, is that a lot of this stuff people won't want to make public. Let me tell you a couple of my unsent ones for you.
Go, yeah.
I mean, some of it is just so trite. It's just like the tip. Oh, I just deleted one by mistake. Oh, I just deleted that draft.
Did you delete it or did you tweet it?
Did I? Yeah, I just tweeted it.
Let's check.
Here's one. I just screen captured the star of the Star Wars saying a long time ago in a galaxy. This probably comes under your category of thinking it was insightful and then realising it wasn't, and therefore not sending it.
Mm-hmm.
I screen captured like the star of Star Wars where it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So I was thinking about that. So I wrote, I've never really explored the theorising or the canon about exactly how long ago this happened, and have people pinpointed the galaxy in which Star Wars supposedly happened. Because there is at the end of Empire Strikes Back, you see a galaxy, don't you? That they're kind of, Luke and Leia are looking out the window as the Millennium Falcon flies away towards the centre of the galaxy. So I've always wondered, have people looked at that galaxy and figured out, oh, that looks a bit like this one, so maybe this is where Star Wars was set? So basically, I want to get rid of the vagueness. How long ago did Star Wars happen, and how far away was this galaxy? So I just wanted to put that out there and see what people came back with. I think what actually happened then was I then went onto Wikipedia and started doing a bit of research about the galaxy and learned some stuff. But I still don't know how long ago it happened.
And then you got distracted by reading up on how different presidents have died over the years and those sorts of things that you like to read up on.
Basically, I went down those same, Formula One crashes and the usual things I look at.
That's right, yeah. The thing, it was a big moment for me when I was a kid when I suddenly realised that this futuristic movie, because all of Star Wars feels like it's in the future because it's got spaceships and stuff, was actually a long time ago. And that was a bit disorienting for me, my young mind at one stage.
Here's another tweet, man. And this will lose a lot in being read and not tweeted. And also, it probably is just crap. But it was supposed to be funny. And then I realised people wouldn't realise it was funny, and lots of people would think. And then I was trying to change it to make it funny, and the more I tried to change it to make it funny, the worse it got, and it ended up just going nowhere. But I'm just reading it because it's an example of an unsent tweet, and that's what we're talking about. To give the context, you know how sometimes you'll see someone post like a weird name, like, Bluebell 43, and then they explain how they got that, like what's the name of your first flower and the name of the street you lived in or something. So I wrote Rover Hillside 442, and then I write, what is the name of your Star Wars spaceship? To find out, post the name of your first dog, the street you currently live in, and all 4 numbers of your bank PIN. And I thought that would be, I was hoping people would react like you, but then I thought a whole bunch of people would say, that's so irresponsible and you shouldn't. I played around with the draft. Like, I considered adding to it, and for the colour scheme of your spaceship, post a full picture of your credit card currently at the front of your wallet. Anyway.
That's very good.
Didn't send it.
Yeah.
I don't know, lost my moment. You want to hear politics one, don't you?
Well, yeah, they are rare from you, and it's because I've always observed you as being someone who has a passing interest in politics, not a strong interest, but a passing interest. And you're a journalist, so you're kind of interested in everything kind of equally, but I've never known you to be passionate about it. Like when we went to election night parties and stuff like that over the years, you seemed reasonably, not indifferent, but quite like, oh, well, that's what happened. There we go. So it's really interesting to suddenly see you really frustrated, or to imagine you're frustrated when I'm reading tweets about things. But maybe that's just a sign of exactly how, polarizing or strange politics has become.
Here's one, because it's like this elephant in the room that never gets dealt with, and I cannot find a way to ask it in a really non-partisan way that everyone will think I'm being really anti-Trump. So I wrote this, right? And I ask this in a non-partisan way. Everyone seems to agree that Russia attempted to affect the US election, right? How do Republicans typically explain why Russia really wanted their guy to be the one who won? Why was it in Russia's interest for Trump to win the election? That just seems to get ignored. Like everyone says, yes, the Russians tried to affect the election. It's really bad. We must stop it happening again. And they never stop and think, well, yeah, but the Russians were supporting one side. Why were they supporting that side? And that kind of just gets completely ignored now by both sides. Give me one of your, deep, meaningful, brooding song lyric ones that didn't make the light of day.
This is not one, and I can't remember. It's not one of what you're saying, but it's like if I was a great songwriter, some of these would be lyrics, which is pretty scary. And of course, if I was a good songwriter, then I also would be writing good lyrics, and so I wouldn't have these. There would be whole other.
You'll be the first musician to release an album full of previously unreleased material, having not actually released anything before.
That's right.
Here's my debut album is full of songs that weren't good enough to make an album.
That's right. There's a few of these I'm not sure if they have been sent or not, or if I sent them later, as I mentioned before. There's one here that I think is kind of insightful. It's about Ricky Gervais. I don't know if Ricky's on Twitter or not. Well, yes, I do. I know that he's all over it. I know. That is I write here, the abiding theme of the work of Ricky Gervais is status anxiety. So I was just thinking that all the way through his different shows, things that he talks about and comments on is status anxiety. The status of someone who's trying to be higher than their station is all through The Office. But it's also in the way he talks about himself, about the fact that he's really successful later in life, but that he doesn't care about being successful, but he does care about being successful, and that he and when he does the opening of the Golden Globes, he's always hamming up and paying out celebrities for the sort of bizarre status that we have them on. And it just seems to be a really abiding theme. Like Extras was about giving dignity and status to these people that are largely often not got the spotlight, which is the extras. And
Yeah.
so I was just observing that seems to be an abiding theme, a meta-narrative, if you like, of his work.
Maybe you should have tweeted it. My wife recently tweeted Ricky Gervais and he liked it. He liked the tweet.
Oh, there you go. Maybe he'll like this one.
Do you know who liked my tweet last week?
Who?
And it was a political tweet. Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Luke Skywalker himself. Can you believe we live in an era where Luke Skywalker himself is reading things that I write?
That is amazing. I wouldn't have thought he was that passionate about Brexit, but...
There you go. He saw my tweet. It was about Theresa May. He liked it.
There we go. You want us to sit and ponder that for a bit longer, don't you, man?
I know. As long as you like. I thought maybe you'd wandered off to the corner of the room to fix your mobile phone or something.
Good. I was just hang on. Mark Hamill's at the door, so I'm just telling him I'm recording. We're recording, Mark. All right, come back later. Yeah.
He's come to personally visit you to tell you about the tweet I did last week.
That's right. He's holding a phone pointing at your tweet.
Yeah.
He's smiling.
Did you see this?
He's nodding.
Did you see this? Because he knows that's how you like tweets. Like, you haven't learned about the like button yet. You need people to hold the phone in front of you and point to it.
That's right. I like it. You say it out loud. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so drafts is good. We didn't talk so much about the emails, but the drafts are good. And probably there's a sense that the email drafts are likely to be longer, more fulsome, kind of examples of what we've got. And they're probably more personal. Tweets go out to the universe, you know what I mean? But emails are more personal. So,
yeah.
Which means we're probably even more reluctant to read them out.
Yeah.
If they fall into that.
And they're more sprawling and make you look crazier because you've had more words to show how crazy you are.
That's right. That's right. It goes on. And you seek to clarify yourself again and again. I find when I'm composing an email and I'm needing to explain something or it's going round and round, I stop and look back over multiple paragraphs. And if you've got multiple paragraphs in an email, then you know what I mean? You've not quite hit upon what exactly it is you want to say. And I realise that I've tried to say the same thing in a couple of different paragraphs. And you're going on and you realise I have to delete all this and just try and say much more
cut.
Elegantly and pithily and accurately what it is that I want to say. And, take all the should and the must out of it.
Yeah.
Soften it and so forth. And yeah, a good night's sleep is often a good way to do that.
Another thing I've learnt that I do, and I don't know, I can't fully explain why this is, but the longer I spend drafting a tweet, the more likely it is to have a mistake. Because as you keep writing it and rewriting it, this sounds silly for something that's so short, but you suddenly start working on the first sentence and then you go back to the second and then you'll go back to the first sentence and then you'll make a change halfway through the third sentence. Suddenly you start introducing all these contradictions in like tense and duplication and stuff. And it's more and more likely that you're going to put a mistake into it. And like I'll spend half an hour working on this tweet and then the minute I press the button, I'll be like, I just wrote the twice or something like.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We need a spell check.
There is a spell check in Twitter. There is one, isn't there? Mine's spell
there
checks.
is too. There's not a grammar check, though. No, there's not. No.
They need an insightfulness check to tell you whether your tweet is sufficiently insightful, Tim. Deep. Yeah. Do not send. This is not deep enough.
There is kind of an insightfulness check in it, in the sense that it's... and it's a very passive-aggressive one. It just means if after a week there's no likes whatsoever, it's like, oh yeah, this was ignored. It was not insightful.
Then you realise you're going through your drafts. Oh,
that's right.
Tim basically treats his actual Twitter feed as his draft folder. If it gets likes, he leaves it. If it doesn't, he just deletes it. Do you ever do a tweet that you're so proud of, like you think, oh, that was so witty? That night you'll go home and you'll be like sitting with your wife or something and you'll say, so check out this tweet I did today. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
I have done that. Isn't that terrible? I have done that. Yeah.
Just the 38 likes in case you didn't notice. 8 retweets. 4 replies.
And you hope she'll just look at you and go, well, you are insightful. That is insightful, I must admit.
That's a brilliant. I'm going to crochet it and turn it into a framed thing on the wall.
That's right.
Very good. And then they'll just look and just go, yeah, very good.
Yeah. No, Twitter is an interesting phenomenon. I enjoy it better than Facebook. Facebook does not much for me, I must say.
Facebook's poison. I haven't posted on Facebook for ages. Facebook's just for bragging about your holidays and like amazing holiday photos. That's all Facebook's for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, is that the new rules? That's all it's for?
Yeah.
Is it? Wow.
Gosh, that person's always on holiday. No, they're not. That's just the only time they post on Facebook. Shall we, before we hear your idea, talk about our sponsor?
Sure.
There's always this like real pause from you when I say that. Like you're like shocked.
Well, I have to sort of change gears. I'm assuming tonight's is brought to you by Twitter and Facebook. Is that?
It's not. It's not. I bet you can guess who it is though. It's our favourite people.
Oh, Hover?
Yes.
Hover?
Yes.
Well, I must say.
You're going to become an expert on Hover soon, just like from these ads.
Oh, yeah. No,
I think it was only last episode you realised what they were, a domain registrar. But like you seemed shocked when you actually looked at the site and went, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, why did no one tell me? And I'm like, I've been telling you for months.
Well, I've been telling people for months. I knew what it was, and you told me it was convenient, but I didn't have much use for it. And so I've sort of looked at the website and gone, oh yeah, okay, there we go. That'll be in handy when I use it. It's only when I've really done a deep dive that you sort of realise this is fantastic. So it goes from being something that I thought would be handy if and when I ever needed it to being something that I start to want to need because it's so cool. That's honest. That's the honest truth. So
wow. I can see why you aren't a copywriter. That was terrible. I didn't realise I needed the need of the thing of the needed, and then I thought I needed the thing, and I looked at the thing, and you needed the thing. Hover. Check him out.
Come on, man. This is Don Draper-esque. This is...
So people, as we're currently undoing your knowledge of Hover, let me just quickly remind people, Hover is the place to go to register domain names, whether it's a .com or a .net, or our favourite .ninja, or .sucks, as we've talked about before. If you've got any idea, anything you want to do on the internet, you're going to need a domain name. Go and register it with Hover. You're going to get the best prices, the best selection, and it's a really easy, convenient site to use. I actually do use it all the time. I have just been using it this week to register more domain names. Tim may not yet be using it, but seems to have a growing appreciation. He wants to use it. If you have a domain name you would like to register for whatever you've got, whatever you're doing at the moment, or whatever you may have coming up in the future, you got to get the domain name now before someone beats you to it. Go to hover.com/unmade, and you can use the promo code Unmade as well, and that's going to get you 10% off your first purchase. hover.com/unmade. Do it because Tim recommends it. Give us another spontaneous slogan for Hover, Mr. Draper.
It's time to hover up your ideas for a new website. Check out Hover now. I've gone to hover.com, and that's where I've been doing my deep diving, but now I've gone to hover.com /unmade. And so I realised, oh yeah, so you just search through there exactly the same way. So that's good.
Tim, just so you know, that's so that the people at Hover know that the person who's coming to Hover to buy their domains came because of us.
Yes, I understand that, Brad.
At the end of the month, when they open up the books, like in the Mafia, and they say, all right, who's going to get made this month? We're hoping they will see the name Unmade, and Unmade will get made.
Unmade will get made. Very well done.
Yeah, thank you.
That's better copy than I've come up with.
So make sure you do that. If you are going to use Hover, use the /unmade, and then, they might sponsor us again one day. And you can again hear Tim freestyling advertising copy for Hover. In fact, after today's performance, I'm worried that Tim's going to get poached from the Unmade podcast by Hover themselves as their advertising executive. So this might be the last Unmade podcast you ever hear. Thanks, Hover. Sorry about that. I don't even know if I can invoice them for this one.
All we're asking Hover is to give us one more chance next month. Just give us one more chance next month. I promise we can do better than this.
Hover's not angry at us, they're just disappointed.
Look, I've got an interesting idea. I hope it's an interesting idea. In fact, I think it may be a bit of a game changer in the podcast world, or certainly in the Unmade
podcast world
universe. This podcast idea is called Moderate Adelaide Developments. So
Moderate Adelaide Developments.
Moderate Adelaide Developments.
Yeah.
It's in some ways, I think, a bit of a climax of things we've touched on in the past. The longer name for this is Moderate Adelaide Developments since Brady was a kid.
Right.
Which sort of covers on for the fact that things have changed, man, and things are being developed around Adelaide, and I think the universe is interested.
So this is like, when you say developments, you don't necessarily mean like property developments. This could just be like happenings.
No, I mean property developments.
Property developments.
What?
So there's like, they've built a block of flats at the corner of Morford Road and Cliff Street.
Well, what would happen in this podcast is you'd ask me, Tim, what's happening around Adelaide? Have there been any developments? And I'd say, sure. And then I'd tell you about one of them. Like, for instance, here's one. You remember Rundle Mall, right?
Vaguely, yes, mate.
It's a mall, and it had it had brick paving, right?
Yeah.
Well, now it's got new paving.
What kind of paving has it got?
Well, it's sort of grey paving.
Oh, yeah, they've had that for a while now.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. See, it's not a great development. It's just a moderate Adelaide development.
Yeah. So it's just physical things that have changed since I was last there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Calm down, man.
What is the game that your game changer has changed?
This may not be as funny as I originally thought it would be.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If there was a podcast called Moderate Adelaide Developments Since Brady Left Adelaide, I would listen to that podcast. Me. But I think I would be the only person who would listen to it.
Here's another one that might be of interest. You know the Maya Centre, right?
Yes, on Rundle Mall.
On Rundle Mall, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you know how there are different levels that go up, right?
Yeah.
Of the Maya Centre. Well, what they've done at these little bridge areas where you walk over from one side to the other side of where the shops are.
Yes.
They've coated it in sort of a wood-coloured coating, and it looks quite nice.
Is it wood-coloured or is it like fake wood?
Well, it's brown. It's sort of a brown colour. I looked at it and I thought, it looks quite nice. I've got a photo here.
That's a definite starter for moderate Adelaide developments since Brady
It
left.
is. It is. It's a moderate Adelaide developments.
Does this mean that major developments would be precluded from the show?
Well, if there are any major Adelaide developments that occur, they'll be considered.
The redevelopment of Adelaide Oval would be a 19-part special.
Well, that's probably outside the scope of a moderate Adelaide development. That's probably considered an actual development. Like an actual development.
Right. So would the closure of the sofa shop be a moderate development? Like, would that be on?
Oh, no. That's a big development. That's a major development.
Right. That's the spin-off podcast. Major Adelaide developments.
That's right.
That's less popular.
This may not be as funny an idea as I thought it would be. But anyway.
It's interesting to hear about.
See, that's what it isn't. It's not interesting to hear about.
Well, you say it's not interesting, but when I actually do come to Adelaide and we catch up, how much of the time is spent of me telling you about things that have changed since I was there last time and like my outrage at all of it?
Your outrage about it all.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Adelaide should be kept as a time capsule just for me, so when I go back, it's like as I remember it from my childhood. Like the most inane places in Adelaide that there's this dry cleaning store in Adelaide that I never went to in my life because when you're young you don't need dry cleaning, and it was near where I grew up. But it was just a nice building. It was an old heritage building that had been restored and turned into a dry cleaners. And last time, and it's actually right near the August Moon where I get my honey prawns. It's on that road there.
Oh, right.
And I drove past it last time I was in Adelaide getting my honey prawns, and it had been demolished. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it affected me emotionally that it was gone. This nothing little dry cleaning store that I'd never been in my life, and they'd had the audacity to knock it down and change it since I was there.
Well, there you go. See, this is sort of a bit of a joke idea, but perhaps it actually is a podcast just for you, man. Like it's a podcast. There's an idea. We always think a podcast is something that's for as big an audience as possible. What if you made a podcast that was just for one person? You were just making it for one person, but you still put it online, but just for that one person.
And just every time you were trying to convince them to sign up with Hover. This one person.
You just never got them.
You're just playing the long game. So, thanks for listening again, Brady. Again, I just want to tell you about Hover. It's like for the 5th month in a row. It's like, it's just me. You've told me about Hover.
Up to 10 episodes. All right, I'm going on to Hover. And they go on to Hover and they sign up. There we go. In the next episode, have you been back to Hover? Because
There wouldn't be a next episode because Hover would say, well, now we've signed him up. We don't going to sponsor you anymore. So there'd be no reason to make the podcast.
Oh, so yeah, and they'd move on to someone else.
It'd be the undoing of your show. The time you in fact, the ad should probably be, don't sign up to Hover yet. Like, just give it a few more months. Actually, speaking of Adelaide.
Yeah, all right.
Because you might remember in the last episode, I spoke about that story I wrote when I was in year 3 and how I won the diary from my year 3 teacher called Mrs. Delbridge.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember it?
Oh, well, who could forget this?
IJM, Ingrid. The spy called Ingrid. So anyway, after that, I suddenly just got compelled to find out whatever happened to Mrs. Delbridge. Bearing in mind, she must have been my teacher 35 years ago, something like that. So I looked her up and I tried to track her down, and I figured out that she had retired only last year. And I sent her a message and I said, I'm sure you won't remember me. I was this kid in year 3, but we talked about you on a podcast I do. And in case you're there, I just thought I'd send it to you and you'd hear it. You'd like to hear the story about, something nice you did that affected my life. And amazingly, she messaged me back.
Wow.
I won't read it verbatim, but I'll give you the gist of it. She said,
that is fantastic.
And this was the amazing thing, because I know teachers don't usually remember students, especially like from that time ago. And she didn't remember the diary or the story of IJM. Spoilers. I don't want to get people too excited. But she did say, I do remember you. If I remember correctly, you played a lamb in the year 3 Christmas play I produced every year. Which is true. And that's like one of my abiding memories of school, was being the lamb in the Christmas play. I had to sing, I said the sheep with the curly horn. I still remember everything about it.
Wow.
I was amazed she remembered that. Then it goes further, and also it explains why she remembers it. You played the lamb in the year 3 Christmas play I produced, and every year I hang a Christmas symbol on the tree that you gave me. So I think what happened was, my mum's quite good at thoughtful presents, and she gave Mrs. Delbridge at the end of the year as a gift ostensibly from me, I guess, but obviously I didn't think of it. She gave Mrs. Delbridge like this cute little lamb ornament, and she's kept it all these years and still puts it on the tree. And Mrs. Delbridge even sent me a picture of it. So she sent me a picture of this little lamb.
Fantastic.
So that's why she remembers me. So anyway, Mrs. Delbridge said, I remember you. She said, thank goodness your story had a good ending, and I'm glad you won the diary.
When she says that she's glad you won the diary, she was the judge. She gave you the diary.
Yeah, but she obviously didn't remember the story. So when she was listening to the story on the podcast, she obviously heard me talking about how much I wanted it and how hard I worked for it. So she's glad that I won it. If she'd given it to the other girl instead of me, it probably would have been a tragic story. So she was glad it had a happy ending.
Oh, I don't know. I'm wondering if there might be more to this story.
What are you suggesting?
Well, you know what I mean? Like, she gets a gift.
Ah.
You won something. I'm glad you won. And it's like...
Wink, wink. I'm glad you won. I really like the presents I got. Oh, Tim, you've undermined one of my most cherished childhood achievements.
I'm starting to think there might be some corruption here.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, Mrs. Delbridge.
How many gifts did your mum send to your teachers?
Tim's thinking, gee, Brady won a lot of awards in high school, didn't he? School captain, hey?
School captain, imagine. And just after the principal got that new car.
With the fancy personalised number plates.
That's right. It's all coming out now. Well, this is interesting.
I want to know what your mum and dad did for you to win the swimming carnival. That would have taken quite the gift.
Well, I think that might have been, there's a carrot or a stick, and your mum chose the carrot.
Right.
But I just noticed, remember, there was, at the swimming carnival, there was no one else able to swim in the race that I swam. And you have to ask the question, Why couldn't they swim?
What was in that sports drink your dad gave me and all the other guys? Yeah, I see it now.
Dear.
I see it now. I wanted to share that nice exchange with Mrs. Delbridge, which you've now turned on its head and completely, basically ruined my childhood. So thank you for that.
Oh. I'm just joking. I'm sure it was a great story, man. That is actually really sweet. That is lovely. Because it's one of those things that's true, and we've found this out over the years, is that teachers, you imagine that your teachers will remember you, but of course, they have thousands upon thousands of students over the years, particularly high school teachers, obviously, where they have so many more classes. It's just unrealistic and impossible. So it is, really lovely that she remembered you. That's great.
We'll do your other idea next time because we're running out of time. So your alleged better idea we'll do next time. Have we used the fact you researched yet, or was that not used?
No, that's not used.
Oh, so we've managed to keep the whole podcast fact-free in case.
That's right. There has been no facts in this podcast.
Excellent.
No, that's for my idea. That's I'm going to hold it. I'm going to keep it there, ready for next time. I'm pretty happy with it now, especially because it has 2 minutes of research that's gone into it. So
yeah, we'll save those 2 minutes. I'm just scrolling with my eyes shut up and down some ideas from our patrons. When you tell me to stop, I'll click on one and we'll do that person.
All right. Stop.
All right. Here we go. This one comes from Matthew from, I bet you can guess where he's from.
Canada.
Yep. From Toronto. You Canadians, you're the best. They're our top Patreon supporters. And by the way, if you support us on Patreon, you too can have your ideas on the Unmade podcast. That includes you, Tim.
All right.
All right. In fact, the only reason I let Tim do ideas on the podcast is because he supports us on Patreon. Matthew is a university student studying mathematics and business. Interesting facts about himself. He includes that he is incredibly passionate about languages. He can speak English, German, French, and some Czech and Italian. And he's also learning Hebrew and Polish. Wow. That's impressive.
That is impressive.
How many languages can you speak?
Oh, only English. I did a year of Italian, and then I did a year of French. So I've got the hello and goodbye of both of them, and a little bit of Dutch because Dad was Dutch. But that's all. What about you? You don't know any other languages, do you?
Nah, I'm rubbish. Matthew says, I'm often driving and like nothing more than to realise that a new podcast has been released just prior to a long drive. Sometimes I will delay the listening of a podcast by up to a week if I know that I have an upcoming drive. Is that a compliment to us or an insult? Like, shouldn't he want to listen to it so much that he can't wait?
No, I think it's a compliment. You're saving it to really, go, I want to listen to this properly. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Here's his podcast idea. Matthew says, discussing interesting quirks or nuances about individual languages. Each episode would be focused on a specific language and you would bring in a native speaker and quiz them about their language. You could discuss idioms, sayings, grammar rules, anything that would be interesting to a non-speaker of that language. For example, oh no, I'm going to have to try some French here.
No.
The French have a term called l'esprit d'escalier, which means staircase humour, used in English for the predicament of thinking of the perfect reply but too late. The Germans have a saying, Fried, Freud, Eukuchen, which translate to peace, joy, and pancakes. What does peace, joy, and pancakes mean?
I don't know, but I like it.
Yeah, so there you go. I know my words are likely inconsequential in the long run, but I'm a huge fan of the podcast. Thank you for all the time and energy you spend putting it together. You're welcome. And thank you for your idea, Matthew. What do you reckon?
Peace, joy, and pancakes.
I would call the podcast Peace, Joy, and Pancakes.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think Peace, Joy, and Pancakes could possibly even mean?
It might mean reconciliation, like, we are going to eat together now, like happiness, forgiveness, or something like that. That's the context you might use it.
Hang on, I'm looking up a website thing here. Literally, Peace, Joy, and Pancakes. The origin of the phrase is uncertain. It is attested in print since 1959. Basically, this means A-OK. Like, everything's good.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Oh, yeah. How are you? You okay? Is your leg okay? Peace, joy, and pancakes.
I tell you what, I'm going to start using it because I like it.
PJ. All right. There we go.
How do you like your pancakes? Do you have a preferred way you always want pancakes?
Oh, do you mean like toppings and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you meant like, well done or medium rare or... I was like, how many different ways can I have my pancakes cooked? I didn't know there were options here.
Let's go really deep on this, man. How hot do you like the pan?
I like them. Yeah, what's your preferred diameter? I mean, I'm definitely sweet with my pancakes. Although I do like pancakes with bacon and maple syrup, which is a bit of a North American thing, and I have come to really like that.
Yeah.
But I don't mind a bit of lemon and sugar if they're really thin.
Yeah.
Or I'm always up for just like some ice cream and syrup as well. What about you?
Oh, look, I love maple syrup.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah, it's good. I'm much more into the sweet. I like maple syrup and a little bit of ice cream or something like that.
Yeah.
More than than the savoury crepe. That doesn't do it for me, I have to say. Particularly because they're quite cheesy. There's bit too much cheese on it for my liking. But
Speaking of moderate Adelaide developments, by the way, is the Pancake Kitchen still there in that little lane?
I don't think it is. I don't know.
Because they used to do lovely pancakes with that little salty butter a little bowl of that salty butter on the top, and you'd pour the maple syrup all over it. What about Bertie's? Is Bertie's gone as well? That was the other pancake place right near the Pancake Kitchen.
I don't know what Bertie's is.
It was like the Pancake Kitchen, but it was just the other side of King William Street.
The original Pancake Kitchen, Gilbert Place, looks like it might still be there. I have a vague memory of it closing, but no, it looks like there's still, there's a website there and everything. I haven't been there for a long time. There's a little French crepe place that's opened up in the East End that I've been to, which is nice.
No, I don't want your fancy pants new ones. I want my old-fashioned Pancake Kitchen, and I want it still with that logo that is the lady with the long flowing hair.
So this is a pretty legendary place because it's where we had our Year 12 breakfast. Do you remember that when we?
Yeah, I don't think that's why it's famous. Like, I don't think that's on its website.
It is. It's why I'm surprised that I mention it on the website though. It must be here somewhere. Class of '93.
I'm looking at their children's menu, and they've got this thing called the Mad Hatter, which is a buttermilk pancake cooked with M&Ms, topped with bacon, and your choice of cream and ice cream. M&Ms and bacon and ice cream. What a time to be alive!
No, that's sickly. I can't do that. That's too much.
Don't knock it until you try it.
They used to have a thing called the German feast or something. It's eggs and bacon and stuff with pancakes. And I look back at that and go, gosh, I couldn't eat that. That's too much now. There comes a time in your life when you're young, right? It's like food is about, I mean, there's yummy food and then there's the other stuff you have to eat when you're young. But it's all about quantity.
Yeah.
And somewhere in life it moves from being about quantity to quality.
Right.
And that's a very important transition.
I'll let you know when that transition happens.
That's right. So I've heard. I've heard that happen.
Yeah, like your ultimate, like when you're a kid and your parents say you can go anywhere you want for dinner, you would always choose a place that is all you can eat, like a buffet.
Yeah.
Because that's like that's the height of fine dining. Oh, this is posh. It's all you can eat. It's buffet.
That's right.
Wow.
Or whenever you'd have a steak, you just order what's the biggest steak? You just want the biggest steak because obviously that's the one you want. You know what I mean? Like it's just all about the quantity. 250 grams, 300 grams. Like, why on earth would anyone order the 250 grams Scotch fillets when there's a 300 gram one? That just doesn't make sense.
Next time I'm in Adelaide, we're so going to the Pancake Kitchen. They still have the same typeface that they've always had, but I can't see like their old logo, which was like that woman's face.
No.
And I don't know why they would have done away with that logo. It was so iconic, unless it was somehow inappropriate in some way that I'm not attuned to. They're on Uber Eats, man. Pancake Kitchen on Uber Eats. That's not right.
Imagine Ubering some pancakes.
You have to be in the Pancake Kitchen to have Pancake Kitchen.
I mean, pancakes you really could make yourself, couldn't you? I mean, why are you Ubering? Some things it's just like, well, hang on a second. You could it's like Ubering a cup of tea. It's like, you could just make a cup of tea, couldn't you?
Pancakes are a bit more elaborate and hard to make than like a cup of tea.
I know.
Yeah, you have to flip them. I can't flip a pancake without making a total mess of it.
You know, it's only called the Pancake Kitchen in Adelaide. I grew up in Melbourne. It's called over in Victoria, it's the Pancake Parlour.
It's probably just a whole different place.
No. It's the same sort of place. It's just a whole different shit.
Yeah. It's like what are you doing?
No, I'm sure it's the same with the same typeface and everything.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like saying, Adidas is only in South Australia. In Victoria, we had Nike. It was called Nike over there.
The Bank of South Australia is only called that in South Australia. In Victoria, we call it the Bank of Victoria.
That's right. That's right. No. See, this is the Pancake parlor, and that has the woman's face on it.
Oh, it has got the... So maybe Pancake Kitchen got thrown out of the franchise and can't use the face anymore.
They've still got that sort of ye olde Western typeface that they use.
But they have got the
lady's face with the fork. Yeah. That's here on the Pancake parlor.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. It's moderately interesting.
I'm not even sure it's moderately interesting.
Are we still recording? Is this?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and it's got the word "lovely" under the lady. I didn't remember she was holding a fork, but yeah, and it's got the word "lovely" underneath. Yeah. Why has the Pancake Kitchen in Adelaide no longer got the lady's face in all their marketing, and yet the Pancake Parlour in Melbourne does? If you know the answer, probably just keep it to yourself. But I guess you can email if you want.
I may be forced to go in and do some research at the Pancake Kitchen.
Oh, no. There we go. Tim on the case again. You're going to have to quit your normal job, and your full-time job is just going to be wandering around Adelaide answering questions that have popped into my head about the history of Adelaide.
I'll probably give preference to the food-related ones.